Digital Marketing 101 for new business owners. If you're a new or first-time business owner, it's very exciting, but you don't know what you don't know. So in this video, my goal is to zoom out and explain end-to-end digital marketing so you have a better grip and understanding on the importance, how it works, and some different nuances, and my personal perspective on where you may be wasting time and money and where you should be doing. Real quick, if you don't know who I am, hey, I'm Nick Parker, founder and CEO at Lead Line Marketing, a digital marketing agency that does marketing and AI for a lot of popular, well-known brands as well as independently owned brands. We've launched over 500,000 ads. And my goal here is to help you learn from the lessons we've learned along the way so you can grow wisely in life and in business instead of the hard way. Let's dive in. All right, so number one, lead generation. What is a lead? Well, we're talking to service-based businesses. So you could be a gym, a studio, kids programming, pickleball club, whatever. But if you don't have leads, you don't have a pipeline, a sales pipeline. And if you don't have a sales pipeline with lead flow, you're dead in the water from the beginning. So you should always have what we call top of funnel lead flow coming in all the time, where you have new prospects, people that are interested in your service offering, giving you their contact information, raising their hand and saying, yes, I am interested. Now, what isn't a lead? What is a lead? Let's start by defining what a lead is not. A lead is not a click. It's not a website visit. A lead is an attributed lead where they fill out their actual contact information. So they'll probably give you their first name, maybe their last name. You can request their email address. You can even request their phone number. And in other cases, you can request more information like how did you hear about us, or what got you interested, or what's the main reason that you're interested in participating in this type of program. And so that information is collected online through ads, either through a funnel or a website or on the actual ad itself using lead form. Now, how does that digital marketing generate actual leads? Are we buying the leads? Yes and no. You're buying the ad placement in an auction. So there are industries, like if you're in the mortgage industry, for example, you can actually buy leads lists. You can buy leads lists, but they're super low quality. They're typically not vetted very well, and it's very cold. So you're cold calling or cold emailing on those leads, and that's not really what you want as a local service business. Instead, you want to run ads in a local geography around your business, and maybe like a 3-mile, 4-mile, 5-mile radius, or specific zip codes in your area, and target those areas with high performance advertising campaigns online to generate those leads to where people see your ads, raise their hand and say they're interested, and fill out their contact information, and that's when they become a lead. Now, why are leads so important for any new business? Well, a lead turns into an appointment if you do things the right way. Then an appointment can turn into a customer, a client, or a member. Okay, and so you have this top of funnel, which is lead flow, middle of funnel, which is appointments, and bottom of funnel, which is where they become a customer, client, or a member at the point of sale. So what are some KPIs, key performance indicators, that you need to know about when you're talking to an agency or you're working on your own marketing when it comes to leads? The primary one is cost per lead, CPL. Cost per lead is basically the amount of money that you spent on these platforms divided by the number of leads that you got, and that's your total cost per lead. Keep in mind, these platforms are an auction marketplace. Let's use one for an example. Social media advertising, like an Instagram ad where you're scrolling. That's an auction marketplace. So every 3 to 5 posts that you see are paid ads. Those are sponsored posts. You'll see the little sponsored word underneath it. And when you see those, that is the auction marketplace. So there's tons and tons of advertisers that are paying to get in front of you in your feed as you scroll every 3 to 5 posts. And based on your interest, based on your likes, the way that you use the platform, the way that you engage, whether you like and share and comment, or whether you watch videos, or whether you fill out forms, depending on how the advertiser is optimizing those ads and the interest that you have is what ads you'll see, as well as the advertiser's budget to win that place in the auction. Cost per lead basically means the amount that you're paying per lead. What is considered a good cost per lead? Well, it depends on your industry. For example, cost per lead in roofing could be hundreds of dollars maybe, but the sales cycle is super long and it's like you're paying $30,000, $50,000 for a new roof. So no big deal. Now, in the fitness industry, if you are paying more than $10 per lead, that's okay. Anywhere between 10 and 15 is okay, but under 10 is good. Under 5 is excellent. If you are in kids programming, same thing, around that same area. It depends on what area of the fitness industry, and if you're premium price, like over $100 a month, you may pay a little more cost per lead, like $12 cost per lead or $10 cost per lead versus that $3, $4, $5 cost per lead on a high volume situation. So it just depends. And there's always nuances and outliers, but to give you a general idea, it depends on your industry and it also depends on your market and a whole bunch of other things. We'll talk about that more later. Real quick, if you're getting some value out of this, hit that subscribe button. Let's get back to it. Let's zoom out a little more and talk about lead generation channels. What are the different platforms? What are the different channels that you can actually get leads from that are kind of mainstream where most people play? Number one would be maybe you think of like Google PPC. Pay per click advertising. Now, Google PPC, you're going to pay more cost per lead because the lead intent is higher and you're also going to have much lower lead volume. Why is that? Well, Google PPC is basically waiting on someone to put in a specific search term like gym near me, right? That shows someone is shopping for a gym near them. And then your mission is to be, again, in the auction marketplace as high as possible and to get that click to generate a lead for your fitness facility or whatever business you have. And so Google PPC has lower volume of leads and higher cost per lead because you're waiting on the user's search. Whereas other channels like, let's say, social media advertising on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and others, that is demand gen where you're getting in front of people regardless of whether they're searching for your product or service or not. So there you can create an itch, if you will, and you're generating leads from people that maybe didn't even think about your product or service beforehand. So it's new. You're engaging them for the first time. Maybe they see your ad 3 or 4 times and they're like, you know what? I would like to try that. And it wasn't even on their mind. They weren't actively searching or actively in the buying process, but you're getting them into the buying process, right? Other channels would be like Google display ads. You can visit lots and lots of different websites, blogs, forums, different things, and you'll see banners all over the place, those advertising banners. You can do YouTube video ads. You can do LinkedIn ads for business. And there's lots of other places that you have for advertising channels. But I would say if you are a local business that sells memberships or any type of service offering, your main channels are going to be social media advertising for high levels of demand gen. And then you also want to have maybe some back-end PPC for Google. And that would be a great place to start. Okay, so now what affects lead quality and lead volume? So lead quality, Nick, what do you mean by lead quality? Lead quality is sometimes mistaken for poor lead quality if you have really, really poor sales skills at the point of sale. If you don't have a strong salesperson that's doing lead management or a strong salesperson at the point of sale, you can be mistakenly think the leads aren't good when it's really the sales process is not good, because we've seen both sides of this. And there are times where the leads are not good, and I can explain why later. So what affects lead quality? Well, high lead quality is basically leads that are interested in your offering. Low quality leads would be leads that are very, very cold and don't really have a strong interest or knowledge of your service offering. So what are some things that can impact that? Number one, your offer is one thing. You got free offers, paid offers, discount type offers, the no offer. There's all kinds of different offers that you can have for lead gen. You have to have some sort of lead generation offer. You can't just put ads out there and say, hey, come in and visit us. That's not going to work. You have to give people incentive. And so that lead generation offer will give people incentive to exchange when they see perceived value, enough perceived value to sacrifice giving you their information and their time and possibly even their money. So it has to be a very compelling offer. The other thing that can affect lead volume and lead quality is ad campaign structure. I'm not going to get too far into the weeds on this, but I will touch on one thing. If you're running, for example, a social media lead form, which means the lead form is hosted on the social media platform itself, it's not off platform, and it has an autofill function, your lead quality is going to be very low because it's very low friction. And a lot of people can even accidentally fill out the form and don't even remember filling out the form. So there's not enough friction. Speaking of friction, that is another area that affects your lead volume and your lead quality. In marketing terms, what does it mean to add friction? Well, there's different things you can do here. Like, for example, you can ask more survey type questions in the lead generation process. So instead of just filling out your contact information, maybe you add a couple of pre-qualifying questions, and that would be adding friction. You can add friction by taking them off platform. Instead of having them fill out a lead form on Meta, they go to a website or a funnel, and that would actually increase friction because then you're moving them to a different platform and working them through maybe a multi-step funnel. Another thing that affects lead volume and quality is ad copy and creative. So your cost per lead is directly impacted by how good and how compelling your ad copy is, your headlines, your copy, all the call to actions, the urgency, and then also the creative. The creative is like the video or the images or a combination of both. That really does matter. That has a huge impact on your cost per lead. So keep that in mind. So let's talk about a few things that actually affect your actual cost per lead versus just your lead quality, your offer, your market. Different markets are more expensive than others. Remember, it is an auction marketplace. So if you have a heavy amount of population advertising in your market, there may be higher auction costs. Advertising budget. If your advertising budget is too low and or way too big, that can also impact the cost per lead, believe it or not. Advertising channels, we talked about that earlier. You're going to pay more on Google cost per lead than you are on Meta most of the time. Advertising, ad creative, and ad copy can affect that. And then campaign structure, we talked about that earlier. So this is part 1 of a part 2 series. Once you have a lead come in, then what? How do you get that lead to actually become a paying customer, client, or a member? And that's what we're going to talk about in the next video. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in part 2.